Let's go.
Hi, I'm Elena, and this is the first episode of season 2 of Bending Culture, the podcast where we speak fluent different, where we turn culture clashes into high fives, and where we help you to win the global game. Welcome, everyone. I hope that you had a wonderful summer and maybe got a chance to step out of the everyday rat race. Spend really quality time with your loved ones. Recharge. Maybe discover a new place or two. For me, this summer break was very special. I took, for the first time in my life, a 3-week social media detox. And I can tell you one thing. The first 5 days, it was really a detox. I didn't know how addicted I was. But now I know that this is the best way to slow down, to reconnect with yourself and truly connect with people around me. So I highly recommend it for the next summer break. If you didn't take a detox, I still hope you missed me and my amazing band culture guests these past 2 months. And also, like me, I hope you are excited for a brand new season. And now, right away, confession. You will have to wait another 2 weeks for my next guest. Today's episode is one woman show because I wanted to take this opportunity of the first episode of a new season and to talk to you directly, guys. Because lately I have been reflecting on why I started this podcast. Why did I do that a year ago? And one cultural shock from my past keeps coming up in my head. And I decided, okay, maybe there is a reason for that. And the reason is that I need to share this shocking experience with you. So it was about 20 years ago. And hey, by that time, I already lived in the United States. Then I returned back to Russia. Then I moved for my work to the Netherlands and lived there for a few years. So I can honestly say I was new to cultural differences. But still, this one really shook me. At that time, I was managing a sales team for CIS region by a multinational company in fast-moving consumer goods. My primary task at that time was to lead the team, to manage the team, medium-sized international team. But I still loved being in the field myself, being in the trenches with my soldiers. So I spent about a third of my time on client acquisitions and sales. At the time, one big client in Moscow was really on my radar. But no matter what I did, how I tried, I could not get him. Then I got in touch with a man who claimed to be this client's biggest competitor. The man was Azerbaijani, that is country on the south of former Soviet Union on the Caspian Sea. But he lived in Moscow for a long time and speaking good Russian, all kind of that. And he wanted to give us, my company and me, a chance. But he insisted that the first truck he will load only when he is really present at the first loading, because he was very particular about his quality standards and qualifications he wanted to have in the products he was receiving. And his idea was that he will come maybe in 2 or 3 months to the Netherlands, and then we will load the first truck and see how it goes afterwards. Now, I spent that day 5 hours on the phone with the guy, and I convinced him to start right away. So after these 5 hours, we loaded the truck, and this call actually landed us with €1 million turnover within 2 months. But here's the thing. all these 2 months we worked so close together, I never met him in person. So when he invited me to Moscow, I for sure went. He showed me his company, his warehouse, and then he took me to a very famous Azerbaijani restaurant. Can you imagine the table covered with every dish you can imagine coming from this region, with all kinds of drinks? It was a really feast. And I knew that in his culture, in Azerbaijani culture, even more than in my own Russian culture, eating and drinking together meant hospitality. So I was prepared to sit there for a very, very long time. What I wasn't prepared for was this, that after only a couple of hours of really like knowing me, like meeting me, my client started preparing food for me with his own hands. So he took this flatbread, he put some herbs on it, and then he added what he happily and actually kind of proudly told me were goat's balls, the local delicacy. And he rolled it up for me to eat, but he didn't even stop there. After he made it, he leaned over the table and started to put this roll in my mouth with his own hands. He was like feeding me from his hands. I was in shock. My first reaction was really to push his hand away. But something in me said, wait, it is not about food. It is about respect. Somehow, my cultural intelligence told me that accepting this moment as it is was the key to building trust. Later, I learned that feeding a guest in this way in his culture is the show of the highest form of respect, the highest form of honor. So thinking to myself, don't throw up, don't throw up, I took a bite. And from that day on, this man has become my biggest and my most loyal client, who really went with me when I switched the companies, and he stayed my client till the day I left the business in 19. So why I'm telling you that? Because we can live abroad and think that we know the culture, like he thought he knew Russian culture, and still his nature came out and he surprised me with his action. We can also think that we work with a certain culture and know it inside out, like I thought that I knew the culture of Azerbaijani people because I had experience of working with them for several years, but he still surprised me. So don't go out from what you think you know. People will still surprise you one day. And in those moments, I think that the most important thing is to forget what you think is normal and be curious and open to somebody else's normal. Because that is where the trust starts growing. And when it happens, guys, the diversity becomes this secret sauce to success. And the purpose of this podcast, to let you taste that secret sauce. I also wanted this first episode to be just you and me so that I could say thank you. I'm really deeply grateful to all of you who listened, supported, shared kind words about season 1. I never take somebody's time for granted, so thank you very much. Your appreciation is what keeps me going. Because to be totally honest, I am absolutely terrible with anything technical. And even though the podcast platform I'm using, Riverside, makes it as easy as possible, bless their hearts, for the people like me to use it, it still takes me hours to record, edit, and publish the podcast. And I know the results are far from being perfect. When I listen to my personal favorites, Lewis Howes or Mel Robbins, the guys whose podcasts are Rolls Royce of podcasting, I know that I have to go really a distance to get in the neighborhood. But two things keep me going. That you are listening and maybe learning something and maybe applying something, and my passion for cultural diversity and how this cultural diversity shapes our world today. Because I live this every day, still after more than 30 years in the Netherlands. My brain still refuses to accept the Dutch habit of direct, explicit communication. I still catch myself searching for hidden meanings when actually there are none. And I have trained myself to be a straight shooter. And people who know me would say that I am a really direct communicator. But what they don't know is that very often being this straight shooter, this direct communicator, is really a conscious choice and not something that comes to me naturally. In my work with multicultural and international organization, I also see it all the time. Diversity sparks creativity, the new ideas, but when it's not managed properly, it leads to huge misunderstanding. People get labeled as uncooperative, not smart, even distrustful, simply because in their culture it is not acceptable to openly voice their disagreement or to speak before the seniors have spoken. I see great talent leave companies because they never feel seen or heard. I am working now on a project with a Polish lady who left the company couple of years ago because she was tired of belittling and unkindly remarks coming from her Dutch colleagues. And that in a company where more than 60% of the employees are not Dutch. I see projects fail. I see deals fall through. I see targets missed. And not because people are bad in their jobs, but because culture is not understood. Now, I won't tell you that solving cultural challenges will magically turn your team in a perfect collaboration. I wish it was like this, but no. But I'm sure of one thing. If your company struggles to close deals in one country, but not in the other, if your global teams don't work together smoothly, if leaders fail to manage international teams in an effective way, it is a really, really good idea to look at the cultural aspect. And it can start with one step. And that is what this podcast is here for, to help to make this first step a little bit easier, to share insights and stories, to remind us that in today's global workplace, curiosity and openness are not just nice to have, they're must-haves. And that is what I really wanted to share with you today. So the episode 1 of season 2 is a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining me today. I cannot wait to be back in 2 weeks with an inspiring guest. Until then, this is Elena from Cross Cultural Development. Let's keep bending culture together to create a beautiful, diverse, and successful business world. Thank you, guys. Bye bye.